Hello everyone, you are watching a personal message in trusting the New Testament. A personal message. As some of you know, DynAggelos is a business which creates and sells different forms of media, usually related to the Bible. Because of this, I've made Bible study videos, I've made general videos, I've published articles on my website. Some are Bible-related articles and some are more general. And I've made other items besides these with the intention of selling them, getting attention from potential customers with them, or both. Some of these works are available to buy at the moment, but most of them have yet to be implemented as saleable products. I've been doing this virtually on my own for more than a year now, trying to get subscribers on YouTube and visitors on my website. Here's the problem. This endeavor has been more of a hole in my pocket all this time than a moneymaker. However, I don't give up easily. If possible, I intend to keep working on DynAggelos to make it self-sustainable and eventually an asset. What I'm getting at is this. I ask you to look at what I'm doing here on YouTube and to check out my website as well. If what you see is worth supporting or has potential, please consider supporting DynAggelos by buying a product from the DynAggelos store, which you can reach by going to shop.go-dyn.com, as you can see on your screen. Sharing the videos you like with your Facebook friends, or just joining and being active on the forums at the DynAggelos website. To know that there are people who really believe in the potential of DynAggelos would be a big encouragement to me, and you could be helping me help others in their understanding of the Bible. Trusting the New Testament. Now on to the more educational side of this video. Why should we trust the New Testament? I ask this because it seems that many people on YouTube, and likely everywhere else too, don't really have an answer. I would like to help you find an answer, but let's be honest, you may have already heard what I'm about to say. Maybe you've already heard a good explanation, but it didn't sink in, and you don't remember or understand what was said. Well, if that's the case, hopefully you'll get more out of it this time around. The New Testament canon. Many people mistrust the New Testament canon, believing that it was deceitfully chosen. They claim that some books were left out that should have been included, and some books were included that should have been left out. The first thing we should do when considering this issue is examine the development of the New Testament canon and the criteria used for choosing the books. One of the most important conditions for each book's acceptance as scripture was authority. Out of the 27 New Testament books, most of them actually being letters, each one was written by an apostle except for Mark, Luke, Acts, perhaps Hebrews, James, and Jude. That may seem like a lot at first, but not when we look into who the authors were. Each author of these works either had their own authority as heads of the church, or were very close to one or more apostles, and so had enough authority for their writings to be considered scripture. Mark was close to Peter, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 13, and Luke, who also wrote Acts, was close to Paul, Colossians chapter 4, verse 14. When it comes to the writer of Hebrews, it seems we must simply trust the early church's analytical abilities. This may seem to put Hebrews in a questionable light, but who would be better at discovering who wrote Hebrews than the early church bodies who lived close to the time Hebrews was written? The writer of James and the writer of Jude are believed to be Jesus' brothers. Matthew chapter 13, verse 55. Internal evidence from James's letter seems to point to the James of Acts 15, who in turn is believed to be the brother of Jesus. Jude refers to himself as James's brother, which suggests his brother James was well known, most likely being the James in Acts 15. So then, each New Testament book was written by someone with authority. The apostles were specifically chosen by the Christ, and the other writers were either leaders in the church or very close to the apostles. The objection might be raised, but the Catholic Church was the one that chose which books would be in the canon. We can't trust the reasons they gave for including or rejecting any books. It is true that our New Testament canon wasn't officially recognized by the entire church until 397 AD, but to say that this canon was invented in 397 AD is incorrect. Since these books were written, they were being read by people in the church and accepted as authoritative. Not only were they accepted as authoritative by particular bodies of believers, but the authority of the books was being discussed among the different bodies at least since the 2nd century. Some church bodies for a time disagreeing with others about certain books. Essentially then, this means that 1. The books of our canon today were being examined by believers before the 4th century to see if they should be taken as scripture, and 2. The canon was generally accepted, a few books being debated about throughout the entire church before the Council of 397 AD. It just wasn't officially accepted until then. What about the other writings? If you still have questions about other writings that claim to have authority, my suggestion is that you do some research on them. Look for books that will go into details about the history, possible author, and possible date of the writing. You would usually see some insights into the text of the writing in these books as well, not just information about the writing. If you're not sure where to start, Lee Strobel's The Case for the Real Jesus briefly discusses some of these writings, including the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and the Gospel of Judas. If you're still interested in a particular writing after you've done your homework, I encourage you to read the writing itself, and maybe even do a little more research on the group of people the writing comes from. For example, maybe the Gnostics or the Essenes. While you're reading the text, see if you can find anything in the text that would further help you come to a conclusion on its authority and scripture potential. For example, does the writer seem to have an intention of actually telling the truth, or simply changing the facts to fit his or her own views? If you're not willing to do the proper work, then accept the traditional canon for the time being. Do not promote an extra-canonical book as if it's scripture without first doing some honest research about it. There's a reason they aren't included in the Bible, and assumptions about them, about history, or about certain groups of people aren't good enough. Please, do your research. If you still have more questions about the New Testament, check out the topical guide section of my website, where I have an article named, Can We Trust the New Testament? Thank you for watching, everyone.